We are kicking off tonight's event. I appreciate some of you are already intoxicated, but bear with us for the next hour, and then you can pick up the drinking again afterwards. All right, hush now, please, because we're going to kick off the event. You are free to have your phones on as long as you're taking lots of photos and sharing it on LinkedIn and tagging us on it, but do turn them to silence. So this is our final what we call Open Sales Confidence event of the year. This is the top 50 sales leaders of 2023. Just for a bit of history, this is the 7th year that we are announcing the top 50 sales leaders in the UK. Over the last kind of 7 years, like this is evolved, but I think reputationally, what we've been able to do is put a spotlight on SaaS sales leadership, which, let's be honest, is a fucking hard job at times. So you know, this really is about supporting you in what you do in ultimately driving the valuation in mega businesses around the world. And I think as a profession, we have a huge impact, but we also have a duty to support the next generation of salespeople that are coming up through the ranks. And that is why Sales Confidence supports not just only sales leaders, but SDRs, individual contributors, and sales leaders as well. So we've evolved, and I'm going to share a few updates tonight. But in terms of the format, we're going to have one of our expert speakers from Zoom Info. I just asked them tonight to share an update on how they're progressing as a business, because there's some interesting things that they're doing in the European market. Then Elaine and Elaine, the CEO and founder of Venatrix, have got a really cool announcement that we're going to put out there. Then I'm going to give you an update on the membership, and then we get into the meat of our first speaker, James Hall, who is the UK and I leader for Snowflake, which is a mega success story. Then we've got Mark, then David. So we've got 3 speakers tonight, and then once we've had each of the speakers, there'll be a Q&A, so you will have an opportunity to ask your questions, and then we will quickly go through the top 50 and announce this year's kind of top 10 sales leaders, which is where the fun is. And then you can get back to drinking and have a good time. Okay, just like a raise of hands, just so I can see where people have landed for 2023. Is your sales team going to hit target at the end of 2023? All right, so it's about 50-50. Everyone that put their hand up, those that didn't, go and connect with the person that put their hand up later and find out what they're doing or ask them for a job. Look, it's been a challenging year for lots of us, but we are definitely here to support you, and that's what this event's all about. I hope you have a great time and enjoy the evening. All right, so let's invite up, can I get a round of applause for our wonderful co-host for tonight, Owen Richards. Hello, Owen.
Hello.
Got to get your picture up. How's it going?
Yeah, I was saying to Pete earlier, I'm not standing under any light shades with him in the room. This time last year, he stood on stage and did this, and the light shade just smashed the chandelier all over the room. So if you're in the middle there, be really careful. Yeah, it was a real magic, and that's, you know, obviously the connection we obviously you said it out that way. Yes, you're right. So what have you been excited about this year about what's been happening with the sales confidence community and what we bringing to the table? I think the evolution of the events around membership and getting people together at a different level has been fantastic. I think I said last time that the new look of sales confidence in 2023 has been outstanding. And I think the quality of speakers we've had at events this year has been incredible. I think definitely seems to be lifting all the time. So no pressure on you 3 today. Yeah, no, it's great. And what would you say kind of, why is it important that we're kind of supporting the sales profession in SaaS in particular? Look, it's not been this hard for a long time, has it? And I think there's a lot going right, but there's also a lot going wrong. And we're working in some of the toughest environments we've worked in for a long time. And that's been fairly consistent for a lot of people for the last couple of years. So I think if you can have a beer with people that are fighting the same battle as you and share ideas, then that's always valuable. It's always been valuable in my career and my journey. So the more we create an environment for people to be able to do that, the better.
And that's what it's about, you know. There are going to be connections that you make tonight that can stay with you for your professional career, and that's the type of impact that we want to have with you as individuals and leaders. So Owen's going to be the co-host tonight. We will be introducing each of the speakers. So just to kind of start things going and warm up, I'd like to invite Ali Saeed from ZoomInfo up to the stage to just share an update from ZoomInfo. Round of applause.
Thank you very much. I've dropped the glasses for today, so that way it makes my life a lot more easier, so that I can't see people properly. But anyway, James, thank you very much for that special introduction. Appreciate you having me up on stage. I feel so special that I even got a handwritten badge for today. So thank you very much, James. I appreciate it. So ZoomInfo, a lot of people in the industry know us well. We are here really to focus on impacting go-to-market sales teams, being able to support them in being able to drive sales, particularly in difficult and challenging circumstances. When I think about our performance over the last year, ZoomInfo is now over $1 billion business, $1.25 billion posted in 2023. We are operating at a 40% margin on profitability as well. That is incredible to see a business in this time to be able to do that. And I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to be able to unlock some of those challenges that we face to maintain that level of adjustment to revenues that we're seeing in the business as well. But the reason really why we're able to do that, why are we able to do that? Because we are learning from our customers. We learn from what the feedback is that they provide us with, whether it be about data, to infrastructure, to driving go-to-market through marketing or directly from sales. And that's really how we're thinking about our business, a full end-to-end solution to be able to drive practical, efficient, and operational efficiencies through all businesses where we can impact. And we're seeing that a lot through typical tech industry, through the tech industry, all the way to manufacturing of chemicals. I mean, it is incredible how we see ZoomInfo impacting so many different businesses in a different way. The beauty of ZoomInfo is that it can be used in a way that's conducive to how you go to market as an individual business. And so we see ourselves as solutions consultants, all of us. We're not here to sell people, we're here to make recommendations and identify opportunities for people to be able to do that. So I love speaking to businesses on a daily basis. It's great to see some familiar faces here as well of who we support on a day-to-day basis through my team. So, what I would love to say is that as a sales team, as a sales community here, it is exciting to support you all. It's great to see that we're helping so many of you and your individuals to be able to drive better outcomes for your businesses. There is a huge addressable market for us to be able to continue to go after. And so the way that I think about it is that if we support each other as a community, all those ships will rise with the tide as well. So with that, hand it back over to James. Thank you very much for your time, and best of luck for everyone on board.
Thank you, Ali. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So I'd like to invite up Elaine Tyler. Round of applause, please. CEO and founder of Venetrix. And my good friend also.
Hello.
Actually, you know me, most of the things we don't plan. So I just want to tell a story. Some of you may or may not know, because sometimes I'm quite open, but to be fair, to be here tonight with so many of you in the room, over 150 sales leaders, it's actually a big deal. During COVID, as you can imagine, as an events business, I was on my knees completely, right? And it was so difficult for so many people. But as an events company, I was on my knees. And there was a few people, and some of you are in the room, that supported me. And Elaine kept it going for me, financially supporting what we were doing as a business. So I just said another round of applause, because I'm super grateful. So thank you, Elaine. But we have an announcement tonight, Elaine, don't we? So over the last 5 years, we've been working together successfully to build, the leading sales community in the UK. And we've had some huge results, especially partnering up on the SDR and the SDR leader community, which is now thriving, supporting those at their early stages. But what else has been happening?
So, over the last 8 years of Venetrix, 5 years that we've been partnered, I've been so pleased with our progress as an organisation. We've gone on to become the #1 partner to organizations hiring SDRs into their team, with many thanks to some of you guys in this room who've supported the business. I'm very, very grateful for that. We've worked with some amazing organizations like Cognizant, Klaviyo, help those organizations scale from 0 to 50 SDRs in some cases. And what some of you may not know is that in the background quietly, and sometimes not quietly at all by posting loads of videos on LinkedIn, we've also been expanding into the US, and we've actually been partnered with a number of organizations over there, such as Aquan, Miros, Open Dialogue, and doing the very same process. And we've actually found it to be super successful over there, really receptive, and it's an exciting opportunity.
Wow, that is exciting stuff. So, like, I didn't plan this, but so we've cracked the UK, right? This is the British flag. Can we get that on video at the back? Can we get a round of applause, right? So, like, we've mastered that, but the announcement that we've actually got, we've done that, is we're going to the US! In 2024, we are going to be expanding Venatrix and Sales Confidence into the US market with a roadshow. So we're going to be hitting up Austin, San Francisco, New York, Chicago. So ultimately, anyone that you know in that US market, let them know that we're coming to the town. What else would you add to that, Elaine?
So yeah, thank you very much for your help in any way you can support us. We're going to be offering our hiring services via Venatrix, upskilling people through the Sales Confidence membership, and also our scale and advisory services as well. So really excited.
Bring on the US. Cheers all. Thank you, Elaine. I've got a monkey down here as well, don't worry. Didn't get that, sorry. All right. Okay, so just an update. One of the great things about running a sales community is that we sell stuff as well. So, that's hugely important. But I just wanted to give an update because people kind of asked me the progress we've made with the Sales Confidence membership. So you've asked and we've kind of put this together. So a few things now. As a result of expanding to the US, for example, I was on with a global VP today. And they've got 30 reps in the US market, and we're basically going to be supporting with upskilling their reps from a mindset, well-being, and performance. You can see a lot of people in the room with lanyards that are already part of the membership, and I appreciate your support because we hit our first 100 members this year, and next year we want to 10x that to 1,000. So we've got a team of 10 salespeople that are going to be with us in January 1st, and if you hadn't already got a call prior to this, you don't need to sign up because you're going to get a call anyway about it. So those who want to opt out, you might as well try do it. We've got access to a whole ton of, the top sales leaders, many in the room that are kind of willing to share their expertise, coaching and mentorship. And really it's a lot of goodwill with what we're kind of supporting people with. But honestly, for leaders, the magic happens in the peer group conversations that are facilitated by top leaders. So once a week, you jump on a call with 10, 15 other VPs, CROs, and you just basically share what challenges you're facing. Because as we said, it's a difficult role, and we kind of want to curate and support you with that. The other thing is one-to-one coaching now. Like any high-performance team you follow on Instagram has a coach. We've got fantastic support. We've got Phil Nainer in the room, our head coach. We work with coaches. We can support you with one-to-one coaching and your team. And then we've got content on a weekly basis. Honestly, it's mind-blowing, the people that we bring into the mix. We had Andrew Gilboy, who has taken 2 companies from 0 to 100 million turnover with us the other week, talking about international expansion. And that's all accessible as part of the membership. You can meet some of our members in the room. We've now expanded to teams, thanks to the team at Benefex and also Bird Eye, that also have given us office space. So thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. And there's a lot more to come. So really, there's 3 asks. Just become a member, it's that easy. 2, book a call with the team, it's even easier. And 3, you're here tonight for a reason. I don't know, what motivated you to give up a Wednesday night, a school night, but you did come. If you want to be part of something and accelerate your career in 2024, stay in touch. That's us, that's me. Let's now invite our first speaker up. Owen, can you introduce James Hall, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not the first speaker. Hold a minute. He's not here yet. Okay, I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, James Hall, who's the Vice President of Sales and General Manager for UKI of Snowflake. Really excited about this one. He's going to be talking, or the title of his talk is Building a Leadership Legacy. Bit of bio on James, just so that you've got a bit of background. He brings more than 2 decades of sales experience to his role at Snowflake, having started as a sales manager at Softcat. He's held roles with companies including Fluidata, Gartner, Huddle, and MongoDB, consistently overachieving on quotas, with some in excess of 200 million. James joined Snowflake in 2019 as regional director. Has been promoted multiple times and is now in his current role. And I'd like to welcome James up to the stage. Please give him a round of applause.
There is a clicker.
Does it work?
See how you get on, and if not, I'll click.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Okay, thanks for the introduction. James, thank you very much for the opportunity tonight as well. I know you've been pestering me for ages, so I finally succumbed to coming here tonight, but thank you and welcome. Some of you, or a lot of you probably don't know me. I actually I like to keep myself quite quiet in the industry. I don't self-promote myself that much, but I thought it's probably about time I actually do a bit of this type of stuff. So, pardon? I can help. Yeah, I know you can. I'm going to become a member after tonight. So, my current role is VP of Sales and General Manager of Snowflake in the UK. And I thought I'd do something a bit different tonight. Rather than just talk to you about medic, value selling, 3 Ys and all that stuff which you get rammed down your throat every day of the week, I thought I'd talk about something a little bit different and about building a leadership legacy, okay? And I've only got 7 minutes, so this is going to be pretty tough. So here we go. Right, here we go. Does it work? There you are. So I'll let you read that. So legacy. I think I was 33, 34 when one of my previous leaders said to me, what do I want my professional legacy to be? Now, personally, I knew what I wanted it to be, and I think like many of us, we've got aspirations, either have a family, get married, travel the world, retire at a certain age, earn a load of money, nice big house in the country, whatever it might be. For me, professionally, what did I want to achieve? And I didn't really think about it too much when that individual asked me that question. All I wanted to do was earn a load of cash and progress my career, but I hadn't really given it too much thought. Now, what I'm going to do now is just take you through my journey and allow you to get a little bit of an understanding as to how I got to where I am, and also give you a bit of a flavour as to how I sort of built the legacy that actually I want to leave behind. So I started my career at Softcat. So I think many of you know who Softcat are. I think I was in the first 30, 40 employees. Back then, LinkedIn didn't exist. I just have to go to the local library, photocopy Dun & Bradstreet journals, yellow pages, find people to cold call, yeah? And it's now called PG, so that's how things have evolved over the times. We can go again. And then I rounded off those sharp edges and I went to a company called Gartner, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. I started there as an IC and I worked my way up into leadership. Now, Gartner's evolved a lot since I was there. I left there when, I can't remember the turnover at the time, but I was running the commercial element of the enterprise business in the UK, so everything but financial services and PubSec. Go again. I joined this little company called Huddle. Now look, everyone's allowed a blob on their CV, and that was my blob on my CV. So apologies, James, that one. But this is where I met this young man here. So next one. And I left Huddle pretty quickly. I think I was there about 11 months. I think it was 9 months actually, but 11 months on my LinkedIn profile. And I joined a company called Zuora. And Zuora was a subscription billing software company. I actually had a pretty good run there. I enjoyed it, but it was very, very niche. We focused primarily on media companies back then. And this is where it starts to get interesting. So I took some time off after Zuora, and I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old at the time, and my wife and I decided to just up sticks and go traveling around the world. So we took a 2-year-old and 1-year-old for 3 months, around the world in 80 days, and then I came back, and this little thing happened. This is where I started to think about my life. I was diagnosed with a very rare type of bone cancer and subsequently was in hospital for 12 months and had my right leg amputated. And this is where I started to think about what do I want to do with my life and where do I want to go when I come back to the working world. So bearing in mind I was in Tottenham Court Road, just up the road from here, for 12 months, being pumped full of great stuff. And this is where I started to think about what do I want my legacy to be. And then I joined a company called MongoDB. which for many of you who know, a lot of the ex-BMC guys, leadership ended up in MongoDB. Now, MongoDB, great tech. I loved it. I was there 3 years. I did a GAM role. Didn't want to go back into leadership at the time, although I'd done leadership in multiple other roles. And after 3 years of MongoDB, it was just too much. It was going to break my marriage, so I decided that it was time to leave. And I got a nudge from these guys, this little flake here called Snowflake, and I went in there in 2019 as one of the first-line leaders in the UK. Now, 4.5 years later, nearly 5 years later, I've done first-line leadership roles there, second-line leadership, and now, obviously, I built out the whole of the Middle East whilst I was there, Israel, Spain, Italy, South Africa. I did an array of roles, and then recently just got promoted to run the whole of the UK and I from a country management point of view. Now, just before you flick, going back to the little leg there, obviously it's a prosthetic leg if you haven't guessed it out. When I was in hospital for all that time, I actually went back to that question that individual asked me and said, "What do you want your professional legacy to be?" So you can whack this up, mate. So I came up with this when I was sat there for days, weeks on end. And this is both my personal and this is my professional legacy. And I'm going to talk to you about how I got to this in a minute. So let's talk about it from a professional point of view, because I don't want to talk to you about my personal life all day. Love. Now, I'm not talking about going around giving everyone hugs and kisses in the office all day long, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. But what I want the teams who work for me and who work for their leaders is to actually really enjoy coming to work every day. Talk about being successful and having fun. Really, really important. If people get out of bed in the morning and enjoy coming to work, then they will continue to deliver for you. You've got to be passionate in this job, yeah, guys. If you're leaders of a company and you're small and you're growing, the leaders are the people that carry people through those hard times. So passion is really, really important. Spontaneity. Thinking outside the box, doing something totally different. Really, really important. If we do things the same way all the time, we're going to get the same results. Sometimes we have to think differently. We have to do things differently. Dream big. I mean, come on. We're all in the companies we are because we're dreaming big. We're expecting those organizations to go somewhere. And that comes down to you as individuals, as leaders, and obviously the teams with whom you work. Celebrate, rewards, recognition, ensuring that everybody is part of that journey and they really, really feel like they're in the boat with you. And then the change the world will go home. This bit's really, for me, is very, very powerful because I joined Snowflake because I generally believe that this organization was going to change the way we work with data, okay? And I think a lot of you here in this room are working for organizations because you generally believe that the organization with whom you work for is going to do something fundamentally different and you want to be part of that journey, okay? Next. So you can build this out if you want, mate. So I'm not going to talk about all of this and one more. Thank you, that's it. So for me, I talk about performance and brand. If you ever end up working in Snowflake or if you ever speak to someone who's worked for me, I talk about performance and brand all day long. I'm not going to talk about performance now because that is sort of almost the base salary that I get paid for. I get paid to make sure I hit my forecast quarter on quarter, that I make sure the teams are enabled, make sure I have the right go-to-market strategy, enable the organization, etc. The bit that I'm really motivated by, and the bit that actually, if you ask, this is in my humble opinion, that makes all the difference is the brand. The brand that you want to create as an individual and the brand that you are creating for your team or your organization, okay? So I'm not going to go through every single little bit of this, but trust, being humble, being genuine, rewards, recognition, we talked about that a little bit in my mantra. Fostering a team, a mentality that ensures everybody's working together. Really, really important. So for me, as a leader, this is the sort of stuff that excites me, and it's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And this is the sort of stuff that my team wake up every day, as in my team of leaders, and they are installing and making their team think about. Next slide, chap. Right. This is an interesting quote. A very good book, if you haven't read it, by a guy called Robert Iger, who's the CEO of Disney. It's called The Ride of a Lifetime. If you're a leader, you've got to read this book. It's absolutely amazing. I read it last summer, and wow, there's so many great quotes that come from it. So the riskiest thing you can do is maintain the status quo. So as a leader, I literally have a healthy paranoia. If I'm complacent, then it's game over. The business might as well pack up shop and go home. So as a leader, you're always thinking, what can you do next? What's the next thing? So if you continue as you are, you're going to fail. The business is either going to go out of business, or your district or your region will get shut down. Next slide. And I think these are the 9 things that I think about every single day when I talk about what great leaders or what great leadership looks like. Okay, now again, this is my opinion. These are things that I think about. These are things that I'm trying to install in my leaders and subsequently in the teams within the organization. I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I'm going to draw out a few of them. Analytical focus. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, probably longer than that, when I was sort of in the early leadership years, all I wanted to do was be best mates with everybody who worked for me, or everybody that worked for me. And that was the wrong thing. As I've matured as a leader, as much as I want to have a good relationship with the people who work for me and build that trust and have that healthy conflict, for me, you've got to look at the data. You make business decisions based on the data that you're actually provided with. Optimism. I joined Snowflake, I think we're turning over about 10 million in the UK. It's a $150 million business. It's going to be $1 billion in 4.5 years. That's my quota. I've got to be optimistic to the sales team that we're going to get there. Now, I'm shit my pants some days thinking, how the fuck are we going to get to $1 billion? But the point of the matter here is, I can't be seen to have this sort of concerns or worries. I have to be confident, and I have to approach the sales leads and the sales teams. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And this is when we're going to do it by. Adapt to change. I mean, I think we're all probably familiar with the fact that change in our industry is constant. And if you can't adapt with it, then obviously, you will fail. The long view, and I talk about this $1 billion, the decisions I make today will impact obviously how we get to that $1 billion in the next 4.5 years. If I think about a decision based on what I want to do tomorrow, then I'm in essence making the wrong decision. So I always try to think further out. Fairness, treat people with empathy and respect. I think you're probably getting a feel for my type of leadership style. Integrity, again, probably getting a feel for how I am. Being genuine and fair. And I think the last one I just want to touch on here is thoughtfulness. I think some of my learnings of being a leader is we're always quick to judge. And rather than actually take time to really think about a situation, digest it, maybe speak to some other people, gather all that information before we actually make either a recommendation or we sort of take action. We're always so quick, and salespeople are quite, we can be quite knee-jerk sometimes, is probably the way I would describe it. So just pause, think, be rational, and then decide on how you move things forward. So, some key takeaways for you guys. First and foremost is, as leaders, you've got to just know who your audience are. Every single person with whom you've ever managed or will ever manage will be different from the last. And you've got to learn to adapt your style to ensure that they all feel they can trust and they can put confidence in you. So for me, it's all about talent, okay? And there's some amazing talent out there. There's some fantastic talent. I must do about 15, 20 interviews a week, if not more. Surround yourself with the right talent as you build your business, okay? Either hire the right people who work for your leaders, or make sure that the people that are supporting you in supporting functions that maybe are not direct reports are the right people to help you get your business to where you want to get it to. Time, wow, we don't have much time in our job. It is like frantic, as I appreciate you'll probably feel that. For me, investing time with the right individuals is gold dust. The more you invest in people, the more you start to build that trust. There's another good book called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, and it's written by a guy called Patrick Lencioni, I believe. The number one thing is it starts with trust, okay? You can't do anything unless you've got trust. And the only way you're going to build trust in any organization or with any individual is by spending time with them, okay? And actually, just quickly on that, the Covey Foundation, something that we're trying to do a lot of Snowflake at the minute is, as we've grown rapidly, it's bringing together all the functions. So we all understand the same mission, the same vision of where we want to go and how we're going to get there. The Covey Foundation is very, very simple. Everyone from the CEO to the janitor knows exactly where they're going in that organization. If you go and ask anyone in the Snowflake UK team today, they will always say, if you ask them what the vision of Snowflake is in the next 4 years, they'll always say $1 billion. They will all know exactly what we're doing and how we're going to do it. Communication, very, very important. And I think my style is totally transparent, honesty. If someone asks me a question, I'll give them an honest answer. And I think just coming back here, the second part of the 5 dysfunctions of a sales team, of a team, is healthy conflict. Once you've got trust, then you can actually have a disagreement. You can have that healthy conflict. If you haven't got trust, you can't disagree. You can't have that healthy conflict. So really, really important to make sure you've got that trust. And finally, empowerment. So something I'm working on at the moment, and we're going through that sort of hyper growth stage where we're coming out of that sort of teenager phase to sort of a young adult, or even a young adult, sort of maturing is the way I would describe us, is ensuring that I can empower people to make decisions. I can empower people to hold other people accountable. You know, what I don't want is a load of leaders who are glorified salespeople. We can't scale a business like that. So for me, it's very, very important that we all become best versions of ourselves, and that ultimately helps all the leaders elevate themselves within the organization. There's 2 more. Oh, that's it. That's it. Go back. And then just for me, that wraps it around with excellence. So if you're managing those 4 components reasonably well, you're going to have a very, 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 very solid winning culture within your organization, and you're going to have excellence at the forefront of everything you do. So, whistle-stop tour. I think I'll probably be over 7 minutes. I probably have 9 minutes. But hopefully that gives you some flavor for the leadership style I have, but also there's some things that you should think about as leaders. And as you build out your professional legacy over the coming years, I wish you all the best of luck, and thanks very much.
Thank you. I love that. Okay, so next speaker. So this is our second speaker. We're going to shortly invite up Mark Langton, who is the Vice President of Sales for Redsift. He's going to be talking about the impact of utilizing the 4x4 process. He's a seasoned leader. He's got over 20 years of experience spanning giant companies like HP, IBM, CA Technologies, Agari, and now Redsift. He joined Redsift last year in his current role, where he leads strategic relationships and is driving new client acquisition and retention. Can we have a big round of applause, please?
I'm going to click for you and then press the button. Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's going to be, hear me? Yep, that's going to be quite a hard act to follow. I will try and keep it to 7 minutes. But thanks for the intro, James. Thanks for inviting me. I was meant to be here about 3 months ago, but I had to go to Switzerland. But there's 2 things actually in the previous speaker's message that I want to pick on, which is, or not pick on, but pick up on, is optimism. And my presentation's about forecasting. So salespeople and optimism, and then talk about analytical. So mine does actually touch on that process. So if you want to move, that's it. So just going to really sort of set the scene. Forecasting can be quite a challenging topic. So what I've done over the years, where I've worked on opportunity sizes from widdly deals through to 30 million plus opportunities, what I've done is I've looked to simplify the process. So when I'm actually engaging my team, there's a few things I want to know. I want to understand, is their optimism actually correct? But I want to analytically get into the detail. So I developed a process called the 4-4 process, and it's 4 boxes and 4 questions. Might seem really obvious when you see it, but it really does work. All my team understand the process inside out. And when I'm talking to them at any point about an opportunity, they will know the answer to these, and then I'll also know, is it a commit, judgment, upside, or is it a pipe dream? So I'm looking for pipe reality when I'm forecasting. Forecasting is something I really pride myself on. So if you want to move to the next set. You can't sell to someone who can't buy. We've all experienced where we have the sales guy, great, yeah, customer said it's going to happen, Bob says it's a goer. But actually, when you get into the detail, you find out that Bob is not the decision maker. And invariably what happens with a lot of technology companies now, where things are really fast paced, it is that the sales team are actually selling into a specific area of an organization. So if I can move to the next slide. And the area they're selling into is the projects box. So you've got 4 boxes here. Top one, vision. You can put them horizontally as well. So you've got vision, board of directors, external vision, internal vision. I'll give you a story on vision about Meg Whitman. I don't know if anyone here knows who Meg Whitman is, was, former CEO of Hewlett-Packard. Okay, Meg Whitman had a contract with Hewlett-Packard. She got paid $1 a year. That was her contract value. Her return, though, was in stock options. So she had an external vision with HP, which is HP is going to be the best and leading IT supply company in the world. The internal vision is, I want the stock to be $27. So imagine if you were a sales individual or a sales leader, and you understood what Meg Whitman's story was, that her vision internally was to get to $27. And what you did is you called Meg. Quite brave decision to call Meg, right? But you said, Meg, I reckon I can get your company to $29 in the next 9 months. I need 15 minutes of your time. She might give you the 15 minutes, but boy, you'd have to have a great story, right, to be able to get beyond that 15-minute period. So it's about understanding your audience and where you sell into. So vision, board of directors, external vision, internal vision, understanding that's really key. The strategy box are the people that actually make that vision happen. So by taking that vision and making that happen, what do? They actually have a whole team of projects that sit underneath them. So we as a company, Redshift, for example, we have 5 capabilities. What has been happening prior to me joining the organisation is that the team were focusing on one of those particular areas of technology, and straight away they dropped into a projects box. So the deal values were actually smaller, and what they didn't get is the bigger picture within inside the organisation. So they weren't actually talking to the people in the strategy area. Underneath that, you've got the administration or back office function, really important still. So you've got finance, legal, supplier management, et cetera, all sits in their lines of influence, and the team that actually run the capability. So you'll see on the actual picture, there's what's called the pivotal line of change. That pivotal line of change is if you can get yourself elevated or your sales organisation elevated to the strategy area, what you'll find is your deal values will increase significantly. The time of the opportunities will decrease, so you'll get bigger deal values, shorter timeline, and you'll actually be viewed as a strategic provider to that organisation rather than just a product or a single me too supplier. So that's the 4 boxes. And so when I'm talking to my team and going through forecasts, I actually ask them, who are you talking to in your organisation? You imagine trying to break down BP or HSBC or TUI or Aviva and actually trying to get a graph or a graphical view of where people sit in the organisation. So for me, I simplify it and I use these 4 boxes. And they all know, they call them either 1, which is vision, 4 is the back office administration, or they'll actually tell me where people sit. How many people in here, love to get a show of hands, have had salespeople commit deals, and if you ask them, how many people are you talking to in your organisation, they say 1. And have those deals closed? So it's about a blend. It's about different personas, getting to the right people, and actually using that methodology. The 4 questions, which is on the next slide, trying to keep to 7 minutes. This was a 36-slide deck, by the way, but James said you got 7 minutes, so I quickly ramped it right the way down. It's only 35 now. So the 4 questions, which seem really obvious, sorry if you can't see. The first one is, and in fact you touched on this, status quo. You've got to understand where is the company today, and when did they make that decision? But then the next question is, what is it that's actually changed in their environment? Because networks, I mean, we're in security space. That's a massively changing environment. What's changed since you made that investment? There's going to be a gap in there somewhere. The third question, which is, what do you see as the risk of change? And 60% of IT projects don't ever happen because the perceived risk has changed. Dave over there knows how to use that product. We've always done it that way. You talked about that, so it's great that I can hook into your presentation. The key question for me, though, which is one that drives the compelling event, is what's the risk of not changing? And if a customer's not prepared to actually reduce that risk of not changing, there's 2 things. Either they're really not interested in what you got, or you haven't done a powerful enough discovery. And I think 80% of opportunities are actually won by the quality of the discovery that you do with the customer at the start of the process. Don't talk about products, don't talk about features, don't talk about any of that stuff. Actually understand their organisation. A lot of the conversations I have with CISOs are around their team. I want to understand the utilization, the integration, how are they, what's their workload? How do you focus your team in the right place? What do you do if the alarm goes off? How do you deal with that? So that fourth question is really, really key in what's the risk of not changing. And then the ultimate goal is, which is the last slide, what you want to do is you want to write the news, which means you've won the deal and you're publishing it, you're putting it on the LinkedIns, you're doing press releases and case studies and stuff. What you don't want to do is read your competitors who have actually written the news. So you don't want to read the news, you want to write the news. And that, I don't know, was that 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes? Is that great?
All right. Final speaker.
Final speaker. David Wyatt's going to join us on stage in a moment. He's the CRO at Aiven. He's going to be talking about the lessons learned in a startup to IPO. A bit of background on David. He's an experienced international leader who focuses on building A-class teams with more than 20 years of experience under his belt. He's held leadership roles with data security org, PKware, CRM platform MuleSoft, obviously now part of Salesforce, analytics platform Databricks, and now joined Aiven. David also acts as a go-to-market and strategic advisor for ScalerPay. Would you please welcome him to the stage? Thank you very much.
Hey. It was kind of interesting then when we were talking about talent and what we look for. I think my biggest one is actually do what it takes and courage. You can't hire for that stuff. It's like you can't teach that stuff into people. It's generally trying to find people who've got that determination, the few and far between. And to that note, I'm going to have a bit of a proud papa moment because my little boy's 10. I hate people who do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Fuck it. My eldest boy's 10. I actually live in Jersey in the Channel Islands, so the schools are quite limited. And Sam had to go do an exam a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday to get into this school. And it's 3 hours and an interview, which is a lot for a 10-year-old kid, right? And he worked his little ass off, and he was bricking it before he went into this exam. And he got accepted today. And so my wife Emma told me, and she showed him the email, and he read it, and she said he was crying when he read it. And I missed it because I'm always on a plane or doing stuff like this, and I literally pay rent in the BA lounge now because I'm always in there. So I need a favor actually. Can you use your phone and video this? I need a favor. No, I want you to video this on your phone. Face your phone at these guys. Can you guys, I know it's a shitty ask, but I need a favor. Can you guys stand up and say, well done, Sam, on 3? Okay? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Well done, Sam! Thank you. You don't believe how much that means to me. I always miss the good stuff. So I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. Okay, I didn't actually get the memo. It was 7 minutes, and I've genuinely got 22 slides, so I'm going to go as fast as I can. But go on, let's start the slides. And also, I wrote this in an email when I was just doing something. I didn't really think it through. So, and I thought, fuck, I need to do something on building an IPO. So let's go. Let's see how we get on. Okay, do you want to go? Okay, so I Googled it. I should have gone on ChatGPT. And I Googled it, and this shit come up from Price Waterhouse. Sorry if you work at Price Waterhouse, by the way, but this is what people do at Price Waterhouse. I don't know what all this shit is, but this is what you do for an IPO if you're at PwC. Sorry, man. Are you PwC? Okay, right, okay. Do you want to... Okay. Have I offended anyone? Okay, good, that's good. Okay, so this is what I saw, and I'm like, it's not about that. That's not about the journey to an IPO. It's not. This is just the clinical stuff you go do. But the reality is, next, this is what you're looking at, a fucking abyss. And you're like, where do I go fishing? There's all these lakes, and I don't know how to fish, I don't know where to fish, and that's where you start. So, as these guys mentioned, I was first on the ground at Databricks in EMEA. Literally, first day was in my bedroom. I left there was 1,000 people there. We grew a great business. It was good fun. Similar story at MuleSoft as well, pretty much first on the ground there, grew IPO'd, all that good stuff. But you start like this, and you are looking into an abyss. So then, next slide. I want to keep looking at my slides, got to remember. So you start getting some business, and you start getting giddy, and you're getting some revenue through the door, and it starts trending up, you start to get some velocity, and you start getting excited, but you still don't know where you're going because pretty much gravity is taking you in a direction you don't know where it is because you're looking into that abyss still. And generally now, today, in the world we live in, PLG motion's really strong, so people are signing up using your software, but you're not dictating where that is. You're not choosing your path. It just appears, and you're kind of following that gravity. So then, I don't even know what's on the next slide. But the problem is, nobody knows who the fuck you are. Like, nobody knows who you are. So how do you go sell if you've not got any brand equity, any recognition? Like, I was at Databricks. I remember I'd been there for like 3 months, and Clayton Samula, who's in there, he's working for me for the 3rd time, God bless him. And we were at an event, and it was like 1,200 people at this event, and there was 3 of us. And we met 100 potential prospects, and 2 of them were in the cloud. And Databricks was cloud only. I went home to my wife, I was like, I've screwed up. I need to go find another job. and finally, we started to sell to people in the Nordics, because the cloud was really emergent at the beginning of Databricks, right? So we really started to step up. It was pretty scary. But we had to figure out our path and build our brand equity, right? So keep going. And what we had to do was we were like getting all these small deals through this PLG motion, which was all inbound, which is all great, but then we had to stack it up. And the hard part is getting all this SMB commercial business, which you still want to keep going, right? But you want to shift it into this enterprise quadrant. And to do that, you need to grow the ASP, which is really hard work to do because you've still got the same products capabilities that you had before. So you need to think critically about how you go do that. Go on, keep going. And the way to do that is you've got to think about how you lead or define a category. That's how you make a difference. That's how you have impact. MuleSoft defined a category. Databricks have defined 3 categories. And if you're going to define a category, the one thing you actually want to do is make sure you're leading it. Because if you define a category, then you're the second best in that category, it's kind of shitty. So you want to be front and center, you want to have the winning formula, and you want everyone to look at you knowing you're the best, you're innovating, because constant innovation is the hardest thing to do. And to do that, you need to have a point of view. And you need to challenge the status quo. We've heard this twice already. And it is about challenging the status quo. It's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys have done Challenger before. I'm pretty sure this is all motherhood and apple pie these days. But I love Challenger. I'm a big believer in it. I think it's great. And Command of the Message gives us some similar structure about thinking a point of view. But all we're trying to do is get people to move away from the status quo and get them to do the thinking they need to do to get out of their comfort zone to make change and transformation. Well, that means you've got to have impact and you've got to have a point of view. Keep going. And all these folks, typically, in this market, everybody wants to go for the safe option. So we want to move them away from the safe option with proof points. We want to move them away from the safe option with how we're going to change and make them transformative and generally get an economic buyer who's going to be super successful and generally get promoted. I love seeing people getting promoted. It's a sign of success. Keep going. So again, Challenger, I mean, we use this at Aiven, we used it at Databricks, we did use Command of the Message as well, actually, combine the 2, but I used it at MuleSoft, and it was the making of us because it taught us how to position different. In fact, we used this, the ASP, when I joined MuleSoft, was 9K. That was my expenses in a week. Like, it was so low when we had to bring it up. We got it to like 60, 70K, like trending up, but it wasn't like going anywhere big. Then we got a 32K deal at Unilever. There's no one from Unilever in there, is there? Good. So, and it was a shitty deal. But we looked at it a different way, and we went in with a point of view, and we challenged them, and we took it to $2.1 million. That became a 3-year relationship. That became multiplicative, and that was actually the bedding that actually was laid for MuleSoft to go to IPO. We then did a $40-odd million transaction with HSBC, which is still the biggest transaction they ever did to date. So we'll join up. Shouldn't have gone for the beer before I came here. Sorry, Mum. Okay, keep going. So look, you've got to choose. If you want to build a category-defining company and make a huge difference into, like, what the impact that's going to be, you've got to make a choice. Like, you decide what you turn up to be on a Monday when you get in for work. Like, are you going to go and do something different? Are you going to go, like, do something that's dramatically game-changing, that's having an impact on the world? Or are you just going to be like the other guy? And I think that's what it's about. It's having a point of view. Keep going. Here's this slide. I've used it about 18 times. And basically, these are the core tenets. I mean, you've probably seen these before, but these are my core tenets for any business plan I write. Defining a playbook, demand generation, building for scale, enablement, partner and business development, CS&I, and a hub and spoke model that's worked. This is exactly what we've used. This is the third time I've used it now with Aiven, and it's a rinse repeat. The playbook's written down, the formula's written down. Let's keep going. But you've got to be intentional in your motion as well. So when I joined Aiven, it was 100% inbound. The sales guys didn't even have targets. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I've never seen that. There was no reporting data. Like, it was crazy. But they got to about 70 odd million and a pure PLG motion. It's quite impressive, really. But we had to move it, and we had to move to an outbound motion with intentionality. And that's what we did. We also started to look at Aiven as a platform rather than a toolkit, which is actually a big change for any company that's going to an IPO. Bringing it from a toolkit to a platform, it becomes a lot more strategic in the play. We used all the med pick, all the criteria I talked about before. We started to figure out where we're fishing with segmentation. We've got something called the Aiven 2000, where we're focusing on the top accounts. I know it sounds like a hairdryer, but that is where we're targeting to focus. We started to look at business cases and templates and tools and capabilities we could use in the field that would really strengthen the play. Keep going. But we also had a plan. Like, you can't do anything it doesn't matter if you go off course on your plan. But if you haven't got a plan, you don't know where you're going. And I always say, build a plan as quickly as you can and try to have a plan for 3 years. So again, at Aiven, I was there for 2 months. I went to the board with a business plan for 3 years. And I said, we had 250, you can see it on Crunchbase, we had about 250 million in funding. I went to the board, I said, I'm going to spend 270 million in the next 3 years. I'm going to grow it to this. And they went, yeah. I was like, wow, that was easy. Because I thought it was going to scare them, but they were totally supportive. And you need to have a plan to do that. Like, you're going to have some twists and turns, but having that focus and knowing where you're going and having everybody else in your team knowing where you're going is critical. Can you go on? I made this slide myself. I did the graphics on this slide, would you believe? So leading back to the platform before, many companies start by selling projects, which are very tactical and very thin engagement with a very singular focus. We talked earlier, I think you said you're dealing with one guy, a girl, and how many of those deals come in. Strategically, when you're thinking about engaging in a platform, you're trying to onboard multiple players into your organization. And that's what you're trying to do, is build into a platform strategy. Next one. And these are all the things we pretty much load in together. And again, in each of the businesses I've been in, all these capabilities are critical. All these things have got to be done, and it's a lot of hard work. You need to pull in all your key players to build the assets, the capabilities, put the structure and rigor, the KPIs, and all this stuff. I mean, at Aiven, we had to build from scratch. At MuleSoft, we had to build from scratch. At Databricks, we had to build it from scratch. But having the right folks to go and doing that and executing on this and everybody knowing what that framework is absolutely critical to growth at scale. Keep going. Enablement, I'm a big believer in enablement. I love enablement people, but they're generally not very good at enablement. Is anybody in enablement here? How many people have I offended so far? Look, I'm a big believer in it, but I think the best enablement people are you guys. Like, people who know what they're doing and have done it before are better at enablement than enablement people. Enablement people do great stuff in terms of putting frameworks in place and programs in place. The best enablement people are... So the CEB Council did a survey, and it was, I think, inline coaching, as in one-to-one coaching, counts for about 80% of the best coaching that salespeople receive. And I'm a big believer in it. It's huge. Keep going. This is an eye chart, and it's not mine. ChatGPT, you're amazing. Orchestrate your team. It's a team sport. Like, everybody's got to know where their role fits. It's all right having a sales process, but unless everybody knows where they engage and what they do in that process, like, everything's got to be in lockstep. And if everybody understands that motion, we used to do QBRs when people used to meet up live. when I was at MuleSoft, we do it every quarter, and we make it all about enablement. But even the talent team, the recruitment team, would come on that enablement as well. And the same at Databricks. Like, if you were hired, but if you were interviewing with one of our recruiters, I could guarantee you that they knew our playbook. Very few companies do that, because the talent team absolutely understood what we did and how we did it. Keep going. The ecosystem's an interesting one, and it's kind of the shift of seeing going from SIs and GSIs, but to the hyperscalers being the center of gravity. That's been a huge shift, and I think it's absolutely critical to be absolutely aligned with those guys. And look, everybody is knocking on the hyperscalers' door. If you look at Marketplace for Amazon and Microsoft and GCP, it's a minefield, and you're just another ISV. So you've got to think how you differentiate, how you position, and what's your point of view to those guys as well. Keep going. You need a framework for rigor. So once you put in all your operation and think of all these capabilities and skills that you're giving to everybody, you've got to have an operating conduct that everybody follows. And it's respected because everybody wants to know that everybody's to operate into the same framework. Keep going. But most of all, this is a great team, most of all, it's about the people. This is the last slide, I promise you. It is about the people. It's all about the people. Hiring great people, enabling great people. I always say, successful people are the happiest people. So make them successful, and it's a team sport. So with that, thank you, James.
Thank you, mate. Hang back. We've got questions. Got questions. Speakers, can you take to the stage? So this is an opportunity for you to ask questions of our speakers. Elaine, come up on stage. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have a few questions from the audience in a moment, if that's okay. Just going to kick us off with a bit of a question just to get us started. I think a really interesting point there at the end, Dave, about enablement and how the best people in enablement are actually the people who've been there and done it. Completely. Maybe you've got some horror stories you can share around enablement and some of the stuff that maybe hasn't worked so well.
Yeah, when I gave the enablement to an enablement guy. Seriously, I mean, I've in earlier days gone by, I've like handed over the enablement to enablement, and all the IP and best practices comes from the people who do it, and you know, sharing case studies, wins and losses. And talking through that with individual contributors who've actually been in the field and executed on it is critical. And when I've seen enablement do it on their own without those folks, it's been pretty ugly, to be honest with you. So I've seen that before, yeah, for sure.
Bro, James, love to just come to you quickly. James asked the room earlier around hitting targets this year, and I think he said 50%. I feel like if some put their hand up and some didn't, it would always be about 50%. So who knows what it really was. But keen to hear just your narrative on this year at Snowflake. What you know, you're obviously rocketing on, and no doubt your hands certainly going up for massive growth. What have been the defining factors for you across this year?
I think as an organisation, we're pivoting from when we all started, we were all selling software, obviously growth ACV, as you probably all know it as, and then obviously what we actually measure as a business and what we report to the stock market is revenue. So actually what customers actually consume of what they've actually bought. So we're pivoting as of the start of next fiscal to what we call really Cat 1, so the initial land. So that hunters and farmer type mentality, where we're actually having individuals who are breaking into an account, and those are taking the existing account and growing it. So we believe as an organisation now we've got to that sort of critical mass where what's important for the business, obviously, of course, it's still landing those Cat 1s or those customers that aren't yet customers, those prospects that aren't yet customers, but also taking those existing customers and really growing them. And there's a fundamental difference between the capabilities of the sales team and what they can and what they can't do, and we're starting to see that. And I think we're at a different stage than obviously some of the smaller sort of fast-growing or startups. We're actually now hiring individuals into the business who have spent 15, 20 years managing a Deutsche Bank or a Barclays or an HSBC. So there's some of the individuals we're hiring in have got that sort of Rolodex of contacts. But 3 years ago, we couldn't attract those people. Or, to be fair, and you touched on the cloud, HSBC and Barclays, their cloud strategy wasn't where it was. And we're also, like Databricks, a purely cloud play. So I think that's sort of fundamentally what's changing. And I think, as an organization, it's been tough. I'm not saying it's been easy, but we're doing some large organizational changes about where we have people based. And you talk about SDR, so we had our SDR team based out of Amsterdam covering the whole of Europe. We're now bringing all those back into region, which to me makes total sense. We talk about that for years, just having those individuals that can learn from the sales reps, and you build those relationships and then you can support each other in the sales. So lots of things happening. But I think the key thing is that you've got to continue to evolve as a business. What is today is not going to be tomorrow, and if you don't continually move, then, as I said, you become the status quo, and then you struggle, don't you?
So true. Well, if you need someone to hire SDRs for you in the US, then you know where to go. Guys, anyone in the audience have any questions? Pop your hand up if you'd like to ask something. I'll come and you just say your name and your company and fire your question at someone.
Thank you. Olivia, I lead the SDR team with Oscar at Kong, the API gateway. I just have a question because all of you mentioned and talked about the importance of being authentic and driving culture and the emphasis around people. And I started at Confluent before, and obviously we were all in office, right, and driving the team culture and getting people together. And the world has changed a lot in the last few years. And I feel like one of the challenges I face is kind of getting those people really bought in and really driving engagement across the whole team in a remote world. So I'm just curious because you've seen it all in software around you've been around for a long time and you've seen the culture change. Any things that you're doing right now that is working to get people together and to really be bought in and engaged day to day, even being remote? Or maybe you're not remote.
I can start on that. I mean, it's a very, very valid point. I think I can't get over how many people we hired with remote contracts over COVID. It's quite shocking. For me, I started my whole sales career being in office doing telesales right the way through. When we're at Snowflake, we were 5 days a week in the office before COVID. Now you can't mandate and put a gun to people's head to be in the office. It's challenging. You then sort of start getting a different type of culture that perhaps the culture you want to create. So for us, it's all about encouragement. So we encourage people to come in 2 to 3 days a week. And what we find is that the leaders encourage and they create that environment. They hire the right people. So it all starts to come back to people. We hire the right people at the very, very beginning who want to learn, who want to be enabled, who want to develop, who want to get their careers. And I think you start creating that, and then you create some little things like drinks after work on a Thursday, whatever it might be within your organization. We've started to see now that we are getting people in 2 days, if not 3 days a week regularly without having to really enforce it. I think after COVID, it was really hard to get people back in, but it's just doing little things. If you create a great working place and you create an opportunity where people can actually come in and sort of have a laugh and collaborate and maybe do those face-to-face meetings that you would do over Zoom, over in the office, over a coffee or whatever, you do start to see people start coming back in. But you need the leadership in the organisation to sort of you do have to keep beating that drum.
What you said. What you said. I think the one thing I'd say is that, with all the skills, capabilities, best practices stuff, you've got to get into people's belief systems. You've got to know, we all see visions and you're like, oh, fuck, another vision. You've got to get a vision that people believe in, and they've got to really understand how they get in there, and they've got to believe how you get in there too. And that's really hard to crack. And once you've cracked that code, people will fully buy in, they'll operate, and they'll want to partner, they'll want to work as a team. And then everything he said, I completely agree.
Mark, any comments?
Yeah, so for me, it's about desire. It's about having people in the team that actually have a desire to want to engage, embrace. So some of the things that we've done at Sift is empowering. When we talked about empowering. So you need to empower the team. Don't micromanage. That just really kills people off. But also what I've done is I put a buddying system in place. Also made myself very available. So I think from a leadership perspective, if you make yourself available, our CEO's available to anyone in the team. He'll go on client meetings, he'll do all sorts of stuff. So I think it's that desire, create an environment where people want to get together. I think that's really important, and may have some fun, right? We're in a pretty tough environment. You've got to bring some fun and enjoyment into it. So we do a thing every course. We do a Golden Wheelbarrow Award, right? Which you probably love. We were actually going to get a wheelbarrow and spray it gold, but we thought it might be a bit tricky getting it on the tube. So we do an award, and it's an Oscar. So someone's done something in the quarter. It could be the top performer. Could be that someone's closed a really difficult opportunity, which might not be the biggest deal value. We do that award and we give a financial reward as well. But it is about having that fun. We have a sleep pod in our office. Believe it or not, we do actually have a sleep pod, and we have a foosball table. So yeah, we try and bring a bit of fun. But it is about the desire of the individuals that they want to do what they want to do. So.
I think a key point around when you've got something that you can't quite solve within the team is to pass the challenge to them and see, because I think that people are most engaged when they're challenged to solve the problems themselves and they buy into the answer. So a bit like your empowerment point.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Do you have a question? Somebody here? Was you? Hello. I'm going to go here because I know you did a question last time. I'm going to try and mix it up.
Hi, it's Alberto here. I'm not an enablement person, by the way, but I'm interested by the comment that you made about, using Challenger to, move people away from the safe option. And, in this world where, things are tough, I'm talking about hiring decisions, yeah? When it comes to hiring salespeople in your teams, I see a lot of, recruiters looking for people who've been heavy hitters and smashing it at a competitor or a large organization, bringing in 10 million deals and above. And I find that it doesn't always work out, yeah? Not because they were successful at a previous company, that doesn't mean that they're going to be successful at yours, especially if you're an emerging vendor where you think you need to figure out things. So I just want to hear some thoughts about, when it comes to supporting talent, what are the things that you look at?
I think I said it before when you all said, well done, Sam. I think do what it takes is huge for me. That natural drive and energy, you can't teach that. The other ones for me is curiosity. And there's a bunch of other things. Track record's important, right? But to your point earlier, somebody could be really successful at one company. Actually, somebody could be successful at 3 companies. It still doesn't mean they're going to be successful at yours, to your point. But being curious, you get into that pretty quick. The best interviews that I have are when the candidate is asking me a shit ton of questions and I'm hardly asking any. And those curious folks, that they are the best. They want to learn, they want to be coached, they accelerate faster than anybody else, and they generally are the ones who kill it. So.
Love that. We got any other?
I think just one thing I'd add actually is just you got to look at where your business is and where you are. Some of the mistakes I've made, and I think it's always good to look back and think we actually, to your point, we hired people who were great in another organisation, but we weren't ready for them at the point in time where we were. So we were hiring people, like I said, who had 15, 20 years experience in selling to a bank or whatever. But one, our software wasn't really fit for purpose for the banks. And secondly, the type of tenacity it takes to break into an organisation, you want someone who's going to hit that phone and just literally PG the hell. Now, you've got people that have 15, 20 years experience or even more. No disrespect to anyone who's had more experience than that sometimes you think, I don't want to do that stuff again. And that is hard work. Just in terms of hiring, some of the hiring traits I look at, coachability is really, really important. If people have got egos and they're not coachable, then you're going to really, really struggle with them. Strength of character. So, at the end of the quarter, when those people are rolling up the sleeves, the customer said, or the EB said, no, I'm not going to buy. What are they going to do? They're going to run through walls. They're going to do everything they can to potentially get the deal over the line. Track record is really important. And I think the other thing is emotional intelligence when you're hiring people. It's just having that ability to read a situation and know when, do you know what, time's up, or I'm not going to push anymore, or whatever it might be. Okay.
Love that. Thank you. Going to come back to the audience. There's one over here somewhere. I'm going to come to you now because I feel bad.
It's a question for James, really. You mentioned you've got that $1 billion goal in the next 4 years. What do you think will be more impactful to get you there? Will it be the category ones, the net new business, or will it be growing existing accounts?
Well, actually, I just came off the back of an all-hands the other day, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. But to Dave's point, it's sort of, the greatest vision in the world, but if people don't believe in it, then you've already failed. So, look, we've modelled it, I think, such that we're going to have circa 120 accounts spending $1 million plus, of which the average of those $1 million plus is $5.5 million. So circa 600 million of that is going to come from 120 customers, is the way I would look at it. The rest will come from the sort of the long tail of accounts. And when I sort of put that up on the board, I thought, God, only 120 accounts. It doesn't sound that many. So this is definitely achievable. Now, look, this is sort of the vision. There's a bit of work to go into the math behind it. Well, we've done the high-level math. We've got to take it down a level to look at a total addressable market from a vertical perspective. But yeah, that's effectively, you're gonna. We need to land the whales, and it's when you do the white space analysis in and around the accounts, and as you build out your product. Snowflake was really an enterprise data warehouse at the beginning. We're now a fully fledged data platform. So there's a hell of a lot of white space in the accounts that we're working with, and as we get deeper and wider into these organisations, they're going to spend more, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we've got to go after the GTK. To Dave's point.
Good stuff. Did we have a question over this side somewhere? There it is. I'm going to go there. This will be last one. So afterwards, if you're happy to hang around just for a few minutes, guys, if you've got questions for any of our speakers, then by all means fire them directly at them.
Hi, I'm Matt. Potentially a bit of a curveball for you. So we've obviously talked a bit about the sort of strategic leadership piece. I think something that's at the top of a lot of people's minds at the moment is the prospecting piece as well. So with pickup rates going down, emailing potentially getting harder, a lot of interference through AI as well. How are you adjusting your strategy and your processes to ensure you can drive effective top of funnel results?
Mark's been on the phone himself.
Make them work really hard. No, it's so you've got to get your messaging right. So that it's about, I call it relevance, and you've got to go to clients with some level of intelligence. If you see some of the shockers that I get trying to sell to me, you just wouldn't believe it, right? So I had someone send me a sequence, started at 9 o'clock in the morning, every hour. I got an email, you haven't responded to the email I sent you an hour ago. Anyway, so it is about relevance. So we've invested in tools like 6 Sense. So what does 6 Sense do? I don't know. Does anyone here use 6 Sense? Yep. So it's an intent system. So it will actually tell you who's been visiting your website, but also who's been looking at things in your area of the type of business that you have and the key things that people would look for, whether it's ransomware, et cetera, et cetera. So what you then have to do is you have to make sure that the sales individuals, and by the way, it's not just SDRs, it's account directors, everybody now has to actually do that. You have to make sure that they have a succinct message that actually resonates with the client. When I joined Redshift, if you ask someone, what does Redshift do? It'd be a 30-minute conversation, and you just go, gee, I still don't know what they do. We've got that down to 60 seconds. So that's the key thing, but with the intent data, so to answer your question, it's not just email, it's actually use the telephone. We do use WhatsApp, I will be honest, if it's GDPR compliant. We use LinkedIn a lot. We've just done a whole program with a company called Pipeline 44. They are helping us to accelerate our LinkedIn engagements. So it's not just a single source, but it is having relevance when you speak to the customer and it piquing their interest, and that's what actually gets you the result. You'll know this better than anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just being very, very curious when you actually get in those telephone calls, exactly what you're talking about, to just kind of back up, find those real pain points, dig down deep, and then you can obviously find the hook to continue the conversation.
I think we got it.
Yeah.
We got it? Yeah, let's move on to the awards, shall we? Hey!
Cheers, guys. Yeah, you're off.
Yeah, you're off.
You're off. Okay, all right. So this is going to take us less than 7 minutes because I know we want to get to the drinks. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I genuinely appreciate these speakers getting up. They've got a wealth of experience. They're not easy to get hold of. Some of them I've been pestering for like 3-4 years to get on these stages, but you've had the opportunity to get that insight. And this is what this is all about, right? You can either maintain the status quo, has been highlighted tonight, or you can plug yourself in and access these people on a regular basis, and that's what we want to do. But each year, we basically announce the top 50 sales leaders in the UK. The process, it starts with nomination. So, frankly, if I don't see your name, you're not really up for consideration. So a lot of people miss out because they don't know it's happening. So that's part of the game. You've got to be in it to win it. The other factor is, I think this year we got something like 1,200 nominations. It's a lot of effort to go through. We then have like a no arsehole list. So Basically, I've been keeping a no arsehole list for about 7 years. It's a big one. You know, a lot of this is going to sound even weirder, the back channel conversations that I have, basically, when people ask me, you know, should I go and work for that person, I've just got the list and I'm like, don't go near them. But the top 50 are people that we genuinely respect. We feel like they represent the sales confidence values. There's lots of anecdotal evidence. Now, let's be frank. Do I really know that the 50th is better than the 30th? Numbers, that's impossible to work out. But we just feel that this is a reflection of 50 people in the industry that you follow. We've done it for 7 years. We're pretty credible. And then we get down to the top 10. So the way this is going to roll, we're literally going to list off the names. If you see your name and face, walk up to the stage. Fergus, Lucy, Ron, can you just bring this table up, please? Sorry. Yeah, so if you see your name, walk up to the stage and get your congratulations and stay on the stage. So we're just going to get the momentum, stay on the stage. And then we will count it down to the final 10 or the final 9. And then for the final individual, we will announce this year's top 50 sales leader. Cool, just stick it there to the left. Are you ready? So envelope, if you see yourself, walk up to the stage, we'll get your photo, we'll get the moment, and then the final 10, we'll give you an award at the end. So you're going to do the first 10. We're just going to reel off your names, and please give it a big round of applause, and obviously get excited when you see someone you know. Okay, this year's top 50 sales leaders in the UK. Let's kick it off. Go.
Here we go. We've got Pierre Heilman, Sam Spark, Jenny Burton-Johnson, Alex Kondik, Rebecca Duckworth, Caroline Allen, Ed Armishaw, Melanie Lawn, Louis Fernandez, and Duncan Keane. Come on up.
Well done, Ed. Stay on the stage. All right, let's do this quickly. Jessica, Jan from Lido, Julie from Open Seas. Matt Harris is in the room, I think. Matt Harris, get up to the stage. Camila Carson, Brona, Nick Bowles, Jonah from Pega, Josh Stevani, and Irene from Valona. All right, next 10, Owen, you ready?
Yeah, ready. Right, Tim Elman, well done, Tim. Amy Blanthorne Hazel, Rod Amies, Hannah Dauncey, Steve Denman, Kevin Middleton, Gary West, Tristan Alden, Ronald Carrier, and Orin Thomas. I've seen Orin. Hello.
Round of applause. Well done, mate. Congratulations. Come on, keep the round of applause going, guys. Well done, mate. Well done. Well done, Oren. Well done, Tim, mate. Thank you, mate. All right, next 10. Here we go.
We didn't think this through.
Will Davidson is here. Round of applause, come on.
I'm gonna go there.
Deirdre from SAC, Nazma from Basworth, Sam from Lunio, Marnadine from Salesforce, Pete from Pinpoint, Enrique from Rord, Gateway, and Nifar from Convolent, Amelia from Culture Amp.
I'm going to need to come there so I can see it.
That was easy. All right, so we're going to count down. This year's number 10. I think most of them are in the room. So one at a time, give them the award.
Yeah, all right.
So this year's top 10 sales leaders in the UK, starting at 10, Natalie Johnson at number 10. Mark Landon from Red Sift. Pete Blackhurst from Trackforce Valiant. Where's Pete? He was here. Neil Rylands from Normative. Chris Dutteridge from Sirocco. Go on, Chris, you're here. Get up to the stage, my friend. All right, so the final 5. What up, mate? Good to have you. Cheers. All right. Guy, all right, Nicola John from Miratech, Tom Casserly from Sedna, James Hall from Snowflake, round of applause. Alice Carlisle from Zscaler. Okay, so this year's individual, the giveaway might be there, but literally there's a very few handful of people that have taken multiple businesses in the UK to IPO. That man spoke as our final speaker tonight. That was David Wyatt. Big round of applause for this year's number 1 top sales leader. Well done, mate. Congratulations. You're in. All right, can we just get a photo? Stay there. All right, let's get a photo. Everyone get to the front. Let's get in. All right, it's the short ones. All right, final round of applause. Well done, everyone. Thank you, guys. Cheers, mate. Cheers. Well done, Owen. Thank you, mate. Okay. All right. So that is literally a wrap. Thank you very much for putting in the effort tonight. Obviously, thank you very much to all of our partners, Salesloft, Cognizant, Varicent, Gong, Zoom Info, Clary, Vidyard, My Sales Coach, Air, Demandbase, Venetrix, Sales Cycle, GitAccept, Apprentify, Cobra, Big Tin Can, Jiminy. There used to be like one, like obviously we're doing some good things. But genuinely, thank you for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic year end, and I hope that you change the status quo for 2024. You make it happen, you become a sales confidence member. See you in 2024. Have a good one. Cheers all.